All right, so you've got a dog and you want to make it better. And for whatever reason, that maybe it's going to be different for everybody. Maybe you've got minor nuisance behaviors that are kind of bugging you. Maybe you just brought a new puppy home and you don't know where to start. Maybe you've got major issues that are potentially dangerous or just driving you crazy. And I understand that professional dog training can be very expensive. It can be hard to find good help. And it can be a lot to navigate through how to improve the relationship with your dog. What I'm going to be doing over the next few minutes and potentially over the next few months is giving as much information as possible, casting a wide net, and doing my best to provide information that can help move that relationship forward from the comfort of your own home. All right, so the first topic that we're going to jump right into, and this is regardless of where you are currently with your dog and with your training. This is a must. This is like, if you don't do this now, then don't go on to the next steps. Okay, manage your expectations and take my word for it that this is where you've got to start. Okay, the topic is going to be motivation. All right, now I'm going to do my best to keep these videos as short and concise as possible. So bear with me on brevity and you know, there's plenty of time for discussion and theory, but for a lot of this stuff, I don't want to waste your time. You just kind of have to take my word for it and trust me on this. All right, so motivation being topic number one. If you do not have a way to motivate your dog to perform some type of behavior, then we cannot start at all. So we'll break down more detail what motivation is and what it looks like and how to build it or how to nurture it or find it. But if you don't have a way to motivate your dog to do something, then we can't go any further. So luckily for us, dogs are in some regards simple creatures. Other ways they can seem and probably are very complex. In some manners, they're simple. And motivation happens to be one of those simple things for a dog because it's only limited to a few things. And this is true across the board, essentially, when you're talking about dogs. Yes, breed plays a major role, genetics. Yes, environment can play a role, but across the board, there's only so many things that can and will motivate a dog. This would be a good time to pause the video, get something to write down, or write on your notepad, your dog training journal. That sounds crazy, but that would probably be very effective. So the ways that we can motivate a dog, and I'll go in order of probability. And the number one way to motivate an animal, and this is now regardless of species, but we're focusing on dogs here, but the number one way to motivate an animal that is true across the board is food. Okay? And I don't mean hot dog bits to treat the dog and to give them a little like tasty treat. I mean food that is required for nutrients and energy and survival, all of that amazing things that keep the dog ticking. Food is a huge motivator for dogs. And I know this is true because all dogs need food. All right, so that's number one. Write that down. Number two, there can be a level of play or toy. Okay, toys and what we would consider as evoking a drive in the dog where they want to chase something or engage with something, like a tennis ball, a rope, a chuck-it that launches the ball, a frisbee. All of these different things, you know, some dogs like to chew on their leash, okay? That satisfies them in some way. That is a type of motivation. So we've got your food, we've got your play or toys, okay? If you want to put in parentheses, that's prey drive. All right? Now, the next one we're going to talk about would be praise or handler praise. Okay, write that down. This is touching the dog, sharing kind words and soft energy and affection. Okay, this is something that I know most people are very, very familiar with because we do it all the time. But affection can be a motivator for certain dogs. All right. There's one more that I'm going to kind of throw in here that's probably not as talked about as much, but I think it's a good opportunity to share this. Another motivation could be what we would consider like a defensive drive. Maybe the dog's a little nervous or uncomfortable about something. That can motivate a dog to act a certain way. Okay, so like if somebody approaches the front door and the dog's a little unsure, now they're performing a behavior, maybe barking, maybe moving back, maybe moving forward. But defensive drive can be a type of motivator. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do our best to keep these short. That's a quick introduction to motivators in dogs. Now, here's the important part. And this is why I want you to write this down, and I want you to be thinking about it and taking some time. That list that I just gave you, those 4 things, we need to control them now. This doesn't start tomorrow. This doesn't start like next video. This starts now. Control those motivators. And I'll give you some specifics, okay? Number 1. Feeding the animal needs to become a ritual, not a task that you throw a bunch of food in a bowl, say, yep, honey, I fed the dog. No. Okay, now, somewhere down the line, if you're 100% satisfied with your dog's behavior, your training is done, everything's golden, then you can feed your dog however you want. But remember, we're trying to help improve those relationships, solve problems, enhance the dog ownership experience. So, feeding the dog needs to become a ritual, okay? So, no more free feeding. Don't leave the food bowl down. Don't just slap the bowl down and then walk away and say, okay, job's done. That's number 1. Number 2, the toys. All the toys, the games, the random stuff the dog picks up throughout the house. Those need to be picked up and put away. All right, and this doesn't mean like we're never going to play with the dog again. This just means that we're going to give the dog some time to not just have free access to those objects. Okay, so take the toys up, put them away. Again, this is not tomorrow. This is not next video. This is today. Do this like right now. Pause the video and go do it if you want to. All right. The affection. This is probably going to be the most difficult for a lot of people, but I need you and I want you to stop giving away a ton of talking, a ton of touching, and a ton of affection all the time to the dog. And we're gonna shock your system here a little bit. We're not gonna ease into this stuff because I want results as quickly as possible, as do you. It saves you time, it saves you money, it saves you stress. All right? So the affection is very hard because for some reason it's like hardwired in people and humans to just start touching the dog and talking to the dog. I want you to stop that, okay? Take it away. Again, you have to trust me on this. I'm not saying we're never going to pet the dog again, but I am saying, for now, take it away. Withhold it. And I mean, like, make it, like, known. Like, make a point. I walk in the door, I am not going to touch that dog straight away. I'm not going to talk to the dog. Hug your wife. Hug your husband, talk to them, spend time with the kids. The dog will actually benefit from all of that. Trust me. Okay, so those are your motivators. Now, the last one, very interesting, the defense drive that we talked about. Somebody approaching the door, the dog not being comfortable, they go into an action. All right, we need to take that away. And you might say, well, Mitch, how am I going to take that away? Well, I'll tell you. Stop putting the dog in positions where they may feel the need to have a defense drive. Okay? So, like, instead of letting them roam around the house when the pizza guy's coming, when you know that freaks the dog out and he gets all wild, put the dog up in a crate, in another room, in a playpen, in the backyard. All right? Think ahead about the scenarios or the opportunities that present themselves that the dog goes into uncomfortable. But if the kids come over and they're too loud and they're running too fast and they got their bikes out and the dog doesn't really know what to do and they bark or they get scared, we're not ready to be there with the dog yet. Okay? So put the dog up, focus on what you're doing, and when things mellow out, bring the dog back out. That's how you can stop that motivator from being overused, or in this case, they can become dangerous. Okay, so that is video number 1. This is where we're going to start, and take my word for it. We're just going to keep progressing through. I would say that this should take anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, depending on the dog and the previous habits. But that's where we have to start if we want to make progress, okay? This is giving you a platform that we can then launch anywhere from, totally depending on what you want to do with your dog. Okay, I hope this was helpful. We'll talk to you soon. Happy dog training.